Naboth's vineyard. The killing of Naboth seemed to tip the scales for God. It's like with all of Ahab's wickedness, God was so patient with him. But when Ahab killed Naboth and stole his vineyard, God was saying, that's it. That's enough. You've gone too far. My patience is at an end. You see, you would think that in comparison to his many other wickedness, that this would not be very big, but in God's eyes it was. Ahab violated two laws of God that were very precious to him. Not that all the laws aren't, but that two laws God seems to value highly. One is the ancestral claim upon the land. How land was to be passed down from one generation to the other. God even made a provision that if a person sold the land, that in the year of Jubilee, the land would come back. And that was every 50 years. So when land was sold, it was sold in proportion to how many more years before the year of Jubilee. If it was 49 years before, well, then you could get a lot. But if the year of Jubilee was just the next year, you wouldn't get much at all. So the law was set up, and God meant for land to stay in families. And also, using the justice system to kill Naboth. God's value of weights and balances, using the justice system. God, with these two things, God said, that's it. You've gone too far. Well, now, why did he use the justice system? Well, it was very important to use the justice system because if they had just killed Naboth, well, nothing would be gained. The land would just simply pass down to Naboth's family, either the children or some relative. But if he was condemned as a criminal, that meant that the government could then claim the land, and that's exactly what Ahab did. Yet in this story, we see God's mercy one more time. Ahab repents. God says he's truly sorry. He doesn't pull back the judgment, but he passes the judgment down to Ahab's son. Now his son was Jehoram. So when Ahab died, it says the dogs licked up his bones, and that's a partial fulfillment. But the dogs licked up his bones in Samaria, not in Jezreel. When Jehoram died, his dead body was thrown into the field of Naboth. This field, which Ahab wanted so much, was a curse to his family. It caused him to die, his wife to be eaten by dogs, his children to die, and the entire heritage, the entire dynasty, the entire family name destroyed because of this one field. So much we can learn here. Well, come back next week when we continue on with more insights on the story of the week. We'll see you next week.